Welcome back to the Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Aaron Cooney. As we get off, we're going to look at both the, as we mentioned, injury troubles for the Pioneers. We'll keep it here. Chris Hoffman's back with me. We're going to talk about the baseball team. And Chris, huge loss for the Pioneers when you lose a guy and Javier Marticarena, done for the season, tore his ACL and MCL, so, he's done. And now they got a huge hole to fill over in right field.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge hole indeed, Aaron. The Pioneers, Marticarena has been the heart and soul of that outfield. He has 7 home runs, that's first on the team. 384 average, another first on the team. Leads the team in RBIs with 34 RBIs. There's a huge hole that needs to be filled, and the Pioneers are going to have a huge problem trying to find a spot to fill Javier Marticarena's loss.
And they're trying to do that now, Chris. And also, a couple other players are playing here. Pasinski, cracked ribs, still playing out there in center field. They brought back Dylan Sowers. He's still a little dinged up coming back from injury, but some of these guys aren't playing at 100% because right now when you lose a guy like Marticarena, you're reeling at this point in time. But how have they gone out and filled in that right field spot and also that big bat that Marticarena brings?
The Pioneers are just going to have to play a lot of small ball, in my opinion, Aaron, to really take the place of that big bat. But someone who I think can step into that position is Don McDuffie. He's someone that generally comes off the bench for the Pioneers, generally been a pinch runner or a pinch hitter, but he has a very solid bat. In his limited playing time, he has a 387 average. He has 10 starts on the season in 31 games, so he does have the experience. He knows what he's doing out there. He has had experience with this team before. He's not going to have the same power as Javier Marticarena, but he can definitely hit for average, get on base, and when you have runners on base, that's how you score runs.
And they also had to switch up the lineup or the batting order there. Burko, Novia, they moved Bodner up to third. Alfonso's going to bat fourth now. One other player that can really get out the field. But you take a look, and how's this going to affect them down the road? They take a look at the road ahead for the Pioneers. As they got a couple more games. They're going to take on Fisher this weekend, as Fisher's going to, the baseball and softball teams come in for 4 games against each team. And also this is a 9-inning game against Salem International on the 18th. But how do they fit in and work out this lineup and this roster and batting order without Marticarena? They only have 1 week left until it's tournament time.
Yeah, they only have 1 week left, but the teams they're playing against are teams that really, this is almost a win-win for the Pioneers right now. Salem International comes in at 4-36 on the season. The Pioneers, this is almost a gimme game for them, but we have seen them throw away gimme games, but this is a time for them to really find out how well can this lineup work. And Fisher, this is also their first season, as well as Houghton, in AMC for baseball. So another kind of gimme game there. We've seen how well the Pioneers have played in conference. So another game where they can really just try to figure out how to work this lineup as tournaments approach.
You can hear those games against Fisher. They'll be live on 670 AM WPPJ. Tune in and check out the Athletics website for all the information there. There'll be softball and baseball broadcasts Saturday and Sunday. So, Chris, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to turn it over. Kevin Calhoun's back in the building, and we're going to talk a little bit more about softball here. And they've been hit with the injury bug as well. Huge loss. They lose a pitcher in Audrey Eisentrout. She's done for this season. Another pitcher, Kate Reese, has a bum shoulder. She actually took herself out of that game against Carlos. She started the second game. Wasn't feeling it, left that, so she's not working at 100%. But, again, a huge loss. And the Pioneers, really 2.5 pitchers they got right now.
Yeah, this is a team, Aaron, that is not deep at pitcher to start with. Like you just mentioned, 2.5 now. With Eisentrout going down for an extended period of time, indefinitely right now, and with Reese hurt with the shoulder injury, you don't know how long she's going to be either out or ineffective for. Really, at the top of this rotation, you have Kelsey Robertson. We talked about it earlier. She had the no-hitter against Walsh, but it's really shoddy from there down the pitching rotation. And for a team, and we heard the comments earlier in the show, this team's goal is to get to the national tournament. It's very difficult to do that on 2.5 arms.
So how down the stretch, you mentioned the 2.5 arms, only 3 pitchers. There really isn't much else. How do the Pioneers battle through that, and how do they keep players fresh and you don't go out and you overuse Robertson or even hurt Reese anymore?
Yeah, I think the key is to find a happy medium between what you want to do and what you have to do, because this is a team where I think you're going to have to start looking at more pitchers getting time. Maybe if Kelsey Robertson's throwing a 3-hitter in the 5th inning, maybe you got to shut her down if you have a 3-run lead and hope your bullpen can keep you in it, because she's going to have to start in 3 or 4 days. And then the bats have to wake up, because obviously with the way this team's set up right now, you're not going to be holding teams to less than 2 runs on a day-to-day, back-to-back, doubleheader basis. You have to start scoring more runs. They've started to do that over the last couple weeks, with the exception of those Gannon games, even when they were getting swept the day before, they were still putting up runs. So you have to find that happy medium, Aaron, where you're keeping Robertson and you're keeping the rest of this pitching staff in the game and keeping the Pioneers afloat in these games. But the bats are going to have to start waking up because the bullpen's going to be a big deal moving forward.
And we'll see. And take a look at the road ahead here for the Pioneers. And they've got a big schedule ahead of them as well, with Fisher coming in on Saturday and Sunday. Also, 2 more games against Carlo. They'll take them on Tuesday. Those games will be broadcast live on 670 AM WPPJ for you. Also, Walsh comes to visit, and 4 more, I should say, against Fisher, team that's 0-37. So, I mean, you really should throw out those last 4 games. But Carlo and Walsh, big opponents here for the Pioneers, and they can try and get on a roll here towards the last week of the season.
I think if you're looking at these games, like you said, discount Fisher. You should get 4 wins there. If you don't, there's something completely wrong with your team. But I think you want to look for a split between Carlo and Walsh. I think if you can come away with 2 out of 4 victories there, try to get 2 from Carlo and try to get 1 from Walsh. But if you drop 1 to Carlo, that's not a huge deal. You swept him the last time you saw him. Try to split in those 4 games. I think they can do that. It's, again, going to come down to the pitching because you're going to see Robertson game 1 against Carlo, and then what do you see against Walsh the next day? We don't know right now. We don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see, but you want to try to split.
They got to keep the pitchers healthy. We'll see how that happens. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us here. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do the Courthouse Tavern Case of the Week, talking more NHL playoffs. Who's been surprising you? We'll find out what these 2 guys think after this.